Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it's time for the Q&As, so let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, first question. For folks in their late novice / early intermediate phase with time constraint and lifestyle factors that don't allow them to dedicate that much time to achieve maximum gains and recovery, but still want to get gains, what kind of training structure would you recommend for them? Thanks, Jason. Honestly, are you asking as far as what I would consider to be optimal in that situation? Would be to run a conjugate. I generally put even my clients on conjugate the moment they have the mindset of performance, meaning that they start saying, hey, I want to see bigger numbers on the barbell. When I feel like they have a good core, good mobility, they can correctly perform both a box squat and a sumo deadlift. Okay, that's my criteria for putting my lifters on conjugate. For some people, that means they start it with as low as a 300 deadlift. For others, it means they've got a 500 deadlift, and we still have to work on some of those issues. But once those things are sorted, that's what I take people to. Realistically, again, let's come over to what I recommend. In a perfect world, if your form, your mobility, your technique, and your mindset are all correct, I don't care how advanced you are. I put people on conjugate. That is the ideal scenario as soon as they are legitimately able to do so. We use 5s, 8s, 10s, standard linear progression with minimalist training to build people up. That's how you build a base. That's how you get through your whole novice phase. All right. After that, I recommend that you do conjugate training. Does that mean we have to do speed work? No. We can do RE work where you can do 5x5, 6x6s, things like that, off of your boxes and your bench press, and again, sumo deadlifts with less total volume. All right, you could do all that. You could do rep work instead of the speed work if you're not ready for speed work. That's completely doable. But you still do the maxes, and then we do accessory work afterwards. That is generally what I consider to be the best overall form of training. That's what I would promote. The problem is that not everyone can do that. Not everyone has learned how to squat to a deep box with good form. Not everyone has the correct mobility to do a good morning. Not everyone has the mobility and range of motion to do a sumo deadlift. Well, until you get those things sorted out, you can't put them on that sort of training. You've got to keep them on some sort of linear novice program, or if you're building those things, some sort of concurrent program. But that's the goal, is to get everyone to that type of training. Okay, we want to get everyone to that type of training. So that means max effort work with rotating lifts, conjugate style, 2 days a week, then 2 days a week of speed or repetition, and then supplemental accessory work afterwards. Now, for someone who has time and recovery factors, you're going to limit the other, right? Your limitations are going to be how much volume can you do afterwards. And I have clients who have to be out of the gym in 45 minutes. And so let that sink in. I have clients who run conjugate who have 4 workouts that are 45 minutes a week. We time it perfectly. I squeeze the exact amount of volume and they can handle. And they do speed work. We might only get 2 supplemental lifts in on those speed days. They might only get 12 total sets of other stuff after their max work. But we do it fast with short breaks. We just get volume and metabolic fatigue. And that works great for anyone in your situation. After you've finished being pretty much a novice, that's what I think people should do in a perfect world. All right, next question. Do you have any advice for someone trying to run your updated novice program who has severe sleep apnea? 67 AHI. 5 years ago, I was able to run your program with substantially more volume, and I had apnea then as well. But now my recovery seems to be completely shot, and I'm struggling to complete any sets at all on the 3rd day. Unfortunately, I've had no success with a CPAP, prescription sleep medication, diet changes, trying to overcome the fatigue. Anyways, this is a rough one, man. I mean, a lot of this is stuff you need to be running by your medical doctor. Here's what I will say, though. When we're talking about prescription sleep medications, like something like trazodone, which a long time ago I did have a prescription for, I have a client who's had to wean himself off trazodone, actually. The problem you have with these sleep medications is that they don't give you quality sleep. You're not going to recover from training the same way that you would on those versus normal sleep, natural sleep, or even melatonin-induced sleep. Now, I will say you could consider melatonin. I take 10 milligrams before bed every night. I generally recommend, it's one of the few supplements I recommend to people because it's extremely anabolic. Like, everyone focuses on the wrong stupid stuff with supplements, say pre-workouts. Now, you'd be focusing on your recovery. If you don't have the motivation to train hard, you need to just quit, or you need to run a different program. So realistically, you need to be looking at recovery. Melatonin, it can at least give higher quality sleep. The problem, though, with your breathing, you're going to need to sort that. You talk with your doctor about it. And I can tell you, because I've seen plenty of guys with sleep apnea in the strength world, because, again, too thick of a neck causes sleep apnea. So excessive neck training, abusing anabolics, any of those things will eventually give you sleep apnea. And usually the CPAP's your only thing. Like you said, you've had no success with the CPAP. Well, that's going to take some getting used to. And I'm going to say, I hope you didn't come off of the CPAP. Hey, if you've got severe sleep apnea, that is not optional. The CPAP is not optional. I'm going to say, go talk to your doctor about other options. But if you're going to actually recover and lift weights, and you have anything beyond very mild sleep apnea, that CPAP is not optional. In fact, even if you're not getting it from a doctor, a lot of guys know they need to go ahead and just put the CPAP on when they become serious lifters. Now, I looked at your pictures also just to make sure you weren't morbidly obese or anything, and you don't appear to be. So I was going to say losing weight was usually the first big one too. So again, you're going to have to find a way to deal with recovery. You're going to need to figure that CPAP out, but that is not going to be optional. You say no success, it almost sounds like you gave up on it. Prescription sleep medication is going to not help you at all with your training recovery. It's not going to be useful in any way. Again, mess more with diet. I would say, again, the CPAP, talk further with your doctor. Get advice from your doctor, because something isn't right. You may be at a point where your sleep apnea, because maybe you've been skipping the CPAP, you've maybe let things go too long. There could be some other health issues that have developed from it that cannot be diagnosed over the internet. So you're going to need your doctor to look at that. You need to start, maybe get your heart and everything checked out at this point. All right, because that's usually our big concern is heart damage. Again, I'm going to stress again, talk to your doctor. And if he can't give you helpful information, get a second opinion. Go talk to another one. All right, next question. Hey, Jason, so 2 years ago I began training. Sadly, at the beginning it was all fluff and pump, resulting in no real gains. I trained like that for about 8 months, which certainly took a big toll on my ability to make noob gains. Well, in your head it did. Then I finally got an awakening and started training, as one should, putting a big emphasis on strength, and I managed to get somewhat stronger, albeit not coming near the intermediate phase. I trained like this for another 8 months. After that, I quit training, and it's now been 6 months since I last went inside a gym. My question is, can I make any more noob gains since I am obviously very weak and I already went through a fair bit of novice adaptations? Or could I try some kind of intermediate program? What should I do? You could try an intermediate program if you want slower results. You need to run a linear program. Let me break it down for you so that you understand. You have detrained and lost any gains that you have. You're going to have some muscle memory. Okay? You need to make noob type gains. Anyone who's taken months off from training should be able to make novice gains again, no matter how advanced they were. Example, one of my clients had over a 300-pound bench press, had some medical issues. He took months and months off of training. Okay, 475 deadlift, 335 max bench. He was down to only being able to do work sets with 155 on the bar. Okay, his bench cut in half. His deadlift cut in half. What sort of training do you think I had him do? We ran a linear 5x5 type program for 6 weeks. Treated him like a noob, and guess what? He made noob gains. In less than a month, 155 for work sets on the bench was up to like 245 for work sets on the bench. 255, put 100 pounds on his work sets on the bench. Okay, like a 200 deadlift shot up into the high 300s. Right? That's what detraining does. When you've detrained, regaining any muscle and strength that you lost while detraining should work as fast as noob gains. You should absolutely do linear training of some type. Unless you're something like a conjugate lifter and you know how to do conjugate, in which case you can go right back into conjugate, but you know how to make linear gains on your existence work anyways. And since you're testing maxes every week, you're going to have percentages to pluck speed work off of. outside of that, and that's clearly not what you did, you need to run a linear novice program. Why wouldn't you? And yeah, you're a novice again. You're a novice. You're going to be one for another 6 months. Get in, make novice noob gains, build a base, and then 6 to 9 months in, look into some sort of intermediate programming. Okay, 6 to 9 months in. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time in part 2.